1:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news, edited by Danushka Madawala and read by Mario Vijayawardena. The headlines. The President emphasizes the government's commitment to leading the country towards prosperity by 2048 through transformative changes. The Paddy Marketing Board has temporarily suspended the purchasing of paddy due to the upcoming festive season. Steps have been taken to control the spread of the invasive plant species in the Sripada area. The central bank issues guidelines for the establishment of the business revival units in licensed banks to support the revival of viable businesses. 838 raids were carried out in the island under the Yukti operation yesterday. The government plans to make Hingurakkoda the 6th international airport to facilitate international flights. In foreign news, tens of thousands of Israelis rally in Tel Aviv, demanding a Gaza hostage deal. In sports news, Verstappen wins in the Japan Grand Prix after a crash delay. President Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasized the government's commitment to leading Sri Lanka towards prosperity by 2048 through transformative changes in modern agriculture, tourism and the energy sector. Addressing the Let's Start With Me Anuradhapura District Youth Conference, he underscored the vital role of youth in advancing this journey while cautioning against the distractions of slogans and arguments. During the conference held at the Kumbichankulam Lake, President Wickremesinghe engaged with a large number of young participants from the Anuradhapura district, addressing their concerns firsthand. He pledged immediate solutions to many of their problems and instructed officials to take action on others. Responding to questions, the President assured the youth that academic certificates should not dictate their futures, expressing his commitment to creating ample job opportunities in the evolving Sri Lankan landscape. He also announced plans to ensure that 13 years of education continue beyond the General Certificate of Education. President Wickremesinghe detailed forthcoming economic reforms, including legalizing agreements with international bodies like the International Monetary Fund and presenting economy restructuring laws in May. He outlined strategies to extend the repayment period for Sri Lanka's foreign debt to 2042, alleviate debt burdens, and expedite the establishment of an export-oriented economy. Moreover, he emphasized the government's dedication to equipping youth with modern technology to directly contribute to the nation's economy. The Paddy Marketing Board says that the board has temporarily suspended the purchasing of paddy due to the upcoming festive season. The chairman of the board, Buddhika Iddamalgoda, told the SLBC that the paddy purchasing will start after the 17th of this month. The PMD purchased paddy through 37 storage complexes island-wide. The board has purchased the largest amount of paddy from the Ampara district. The chairman further said that many farmers will not sell paddy until the end of the festive season. So the board has decided to close storages as a step to minimize the wastage. Steps have been taken to control the spread of the invasive plant species in the Sripada area. This plant species carries the botanical name of Coigenia mollis and is fast spreading through the Sripada sanctuary area. The plant is found around mountainous areas and it grows to the height of 8 feet. It has been identified that this plant affects a host of local trees and biodiversity. A meeting in this regard was held in the Irrigation Ministry under the patronage of Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi recently. She instructed officials to take precautionary action to control the spread of this invasive species. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The government plans to make Hingurakoda the 6th international airport to facilitate international flights. The current international airports are Rasmalana, Colombo, Mattala, Jaffna and Batticaloa. The Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Aviation will invest several billions on this project. With this funding, the first phase of development will focus on extending the existing 2,287-meter long and 46-meter wide runway to 2,500 meters. Upon the completion of these enhancements, the runway will be able to accommodate Airbus A320s and Boeing B737 crafts. The construction is to be undertaken by the Sri Lanka Air Force. Sri Lanka police have conducted 838 raids island-wide under the Yukti operation yesterday. 838 suspects have been arrested, including 9 women. According to the police headquarters, 46 out of them are being detained for further investigations. The police recovered various kinds of drugs from them. The STF says that the main suspect who aided the double murder in the Ambalangoda area has also been arrested. He was arrested in a raid conducted near the Gala Piyadigama level crossing. He is said to be a 43-year-old resident from the Gintota area. A person who used to sell drugs to school children of Kalutara has also been rounded up. This person has been in this trade for a long time. The STF further says that a person with illegally smuggled cigarettes has been arrested from a restaurant at Madolsima. The Deputy Inspector General of the Police, Varuna Jayasundara, says a person who was engaged in illegal digging has been arrested along with a vehicle taken into possession, and a lot of equipment has also been recovered in raids conducted under his guidance. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka issued broad guidelines to licensed banks on the 28th of March 2024 to further strengthen the functions of already established post-COVID-19 revival units and reformulate such units as business revival units. The enhanced scope of proposed BRUs will facilitate sustainable revival of viable businesses affected by the extraordinary macroeconomic conditions and ensure the proper handling of the increased impaired assets of licensed banks. The central bank sought relevant stakeholder views, including the banking industry and the Chamber of Commerce, when formulating these guidelines. The challenging macroeconomic conditions prevailed during the recent years have led to disrupting the income-generating activities of businesses, adversely impacting the ability of borrowers to duly repay their loans and thereby impairing the recovery process of licensed banks. Thus, the setting up of BRUs is considered imperative to assist both performing and non-performing borrowers of licensed banks whose businesses are fundamentally viable to revive-CBSL. The Asian Development Bank reaffirmed its commitment to supporting Sri Lanka to achieve economic prosperity and sustainable growth at the launch of its Country Partnership Strategy 2024 to 2028 for Sri Lanka in Colombo. The ADB Country Director for Sri Lanka, Takafumi Kadono, said that President Ranil Wickremesinghe's recent statement on Sri Lanka needing to be more competitive to achieve economic success resonates deeply with the ADB.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
Several kinds of seeds are ready for export. According to the Department of Agriculture, experiments have been conducted with the collaboration of the private sector. Accordingly, chilies, brinjals, capsicums, okra and several varieties of corn have been experimented successfully. There is a high demand for these seeds in foreign countries. The export of seeds are being done for the first time in this country. According to the Director General of Agriculture, Malini Parasuraman, steps have been taken to export the first lot of these seeds this year. Prices of seeds will be reduced by 50% due to this step. She also pointed out that local farmers have the opportunity to buy high-quality seeds.
Watch Live is brought to you by
CIB Navy offer valuable gifts and gift vouchers, 25% discount for bank cards till 10th of April. Visit CIB today. CIB revives once always.
According to the residents of the area, a lot of trees in the Alpitia town pose a danger to human life. During heavy rains with strong winds, these trees might fall, causing damage to buildings and threat to human life. The residents request to cut and eliminate them before a major accident.
CIB Navy offer valuable gifts and gift vouchers, 25% discount for bank cards till 10th of April. Visit CIB today. CIB revives once always.
Coming up, World News.
In World News headlines, tens of thousands of Israelis rally in Tel Aviv, demanding Gaza hostage deal. Russia-friendly populist Peter Pellegrini elected Slovak president. Myanmar military loses border town in another big defeat. Opponents of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says 100,000 people have rallied against the government and to demand a Gaza hostage deal. The rallies in Tel Aviv and other cities came after the Israeli Defense Forces recovered the body of hostage Elad Katzir. Protesters chanted, "Elections now," and "Elad, we are sorry," local media reported. Later, the police forcibly dispersed the Tel Aviv crowd. Anti-government protesters were joined by families of hostages held in Gaza. Demonstrators expressed their frustration with the government's inability to free the around 130 hostages who remain in Gaza, held by Hamas and its allies. Earlier on Saturday, the IDF recovered the body of Elad Katzir, who was seized and taken to Gaza during the Hamas attacks on southern Israel on the 7th of October. He appeared alive in a hostage video released in January. Populist Peter Pellegrini has been elected the president of Slovakia, succeeding the liberal Zuzana Kaputova. Mr. Pellegrini, 48, defeated the pro-Western Ivan Kokoch, a former diplomat, with 53% of the vote. A former Prime Minister, he is an ally of Prime Minister Robert Fico and shares the Prime Minister's dovish attitude towards Russia. Mr. Fico and his allies now control Slovakia's parliament, government and soon the president's office. Slovakia had been one of Ukraine's staunchest allies before Mr. Fico came to power in October on a pledge to halt supplies of Slovak army military stocks to Kiev. With Mr. Pellegrini replacing Mrs. Kaptova, Ukraine has now definitively lost a voice of support in an EU and NATO capital. Mr. Fico has called for an end to Western military support for Ukraine, an immediate ceasefire and peace talks with Moscow. Mr. Fico said recently President Vladimir Putin had been unfairly demonized and argued admitting Ukraine to NATO would mark the beginning of a third world war. The military regime which seized power in Myanmar 3 years ago has suffered another big defeat, this time on the eastern border with Thailand. Troops had suffered weeks of attacks by ethnic Karen insurgents allied with other anti-coup forces. Hundreds of troops guarding the vital border town of Myawaddy have now agreed to surrender. Most of Myanmar's overland trade with Thailand passes through Myawaddy. On Friday, the Karen National Union announced that it had accepted the surrender of a battalion based in the town of Tangyannyanong, about 10 kilometers west of Myawaddy. And now the main points of the World News segment once again. Tens of thousands of Israelis rally in Tel Aviv, demanding a Gaza hostage deal. Russia-friendly populist Peter Pellegrini elected Slovak president. The Myanmar military loses a border town in another big defeat. And now in development news, the $513 million Uma Oya multipurpose development project is poised to be unveiled to the public by the end of this month. President Ranil Wickremesinghe has instructed Irrigation, Wildlife and Forest Conservation Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi to expedite the work. Construction work on the project started in 2011 to enhance hydropower capabilities and irrigate around 25,000 acres of paddy lands within the southeastern region of the Central Highlands. Minister Vanyarachi reviewed the project's progress on Friday at the Irrigation Ministry. Meanwhile, the district hospital of Undugoda will be developed. The respiratory treatment centre constructed in the hospital was recently opened. An amount of 4 million rupees has been spent on this. Funds will be provided by the Sabaragamuwa Provincial Council. According to the provincial governor, Naveen Disanayake, funds have been allocated for the construction of the administrative centre and the parapet wall of the hospital.
Moving on with sports news.
The inter-school rugby tournament will be conducted on the 20th and the 21st of this month. Several main school rugby teams are in the fray. Preliminary rounds will be conducted under 8 groups. The tournament is being organised by the Sri Lanka Rugby Football Association. Meanwhile, Trinity College Kandy and Richmond College Gala have qualified for the finals of the Inter-School First Division Cricket Tournament. Furthermore, Arsenal maintained their pursuit of a first Premier League title for 20 years as they moved top of the table with an impressive away victory over Brighton. Mikel Arteta's side edged 1 point ahead of title rivals Liverpool, who face Manchester United at Old Trafford on Sunday, and Manchester City after the reigning champions beat Crystal Palace 4-2 earlier yesterday. Furthermore, Max Verstappen cruised to a comfortable victory in the Japanese Grand Prix, leading teammate Sergio Perez to a Red Bull 1-2. Verstappen was unperturbed through an early race stoppage to take his third victory in 4 races this season. Red Bull were in a league of their own in a race dominated by tyre strategy. Carlos Sainz passed teammate Charles Leclerc late on to secure third as Ferrari deployed divergent strategies.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
A memorandum of understanding was signed in Colombo between the government of the Sultanate of Oman. This was represented by the Ministry of Heritage and Tourism and the Sri Lanka government, represented by the Ministry of Tourism and Lands, to strengthen bilateral cooperation in the tourism sector between the two countries. It underscores the significance of the tourism industry as a key driver of economic development. The memorandum aims to intensify tourism exchanges, promote participation in various tourism activities, and coordinate efforts among relevant authorities in both countries.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
And now in economic news. The 4th round of bilateral consultations between Sri Lanka and Switzerland took place recently in Colombo. This meeting was co-chaired by the Ambassador-Head of Asia Pacific at the Swiss Federal Department of Foreign Affairs, Heinrich Schellenberg, and the Additional Secretary of Bilateral Affairs of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Sri Lanka, Yasoja Gunasekara. The delegations discussed potential to further enhance economic relations. Sri Lanka appreciated the Swiss assistance extended to the Export Development Board in identifying further markets for Sri Lankan export and proposed collaboration in the textile industry. The two countries agreed to work towards and to explore diversifying trade relations and further potential in the tourism sector.
Weather report.
Showers or thunder showers will occur at a few places in the western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in the Mahanuwara, Nuwara Eliya, Gala and Matara districts after 2 p.m. The general public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize the damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during the thunder showers. That was the weather report, and now the headlines of this news broadcast once again. The President emphasizes the government's commitment to leading the country towards prosperity by 2048 through transformative changes. The Paddy Marketing Board has temporarily suspended the purchasing of paddy due to the upcoming festive season. Steps have been taken to control the spread of the invasive plant species in the Sri Pada area. The central bank issues guidelines for the establishment of the business revival units in licensed banks to support the revival of viable businesses. 838 raids were carried out island-wide under the Yuktiya operation yesterday. The government plans to make Hingurakoda the 6th international airport to facilitate international flights. In foreign news, tens of thousands of Israelis rally in Tel Aviv, demanding a Gaza hostage deal. In sports news, Verstappen wins in the Japan Grand Prix after a crash delay. That concludes this news broadcast, and now it's back to your host, as always, patiently waiting on the other side, Sonal Panavitana, to keep our dear listeners on a Sunday afternoon in great company. And of course, over to you, Sonal, and I'm sure our Sunday listeners would have enjoyed listening to the news bulletin. And over to you, Sonal. On a Sunday afternoon, the listenership is very, very different to that of the nights.